Hi guys, this is Aniko. I've been on a bit of a break, you've probably noticed, partially because I was traveling over the holidays and mostly because I bought Fallout 4 during the Christmas sales. Yeah, it's mostly Fallout 4's fault. So today, I'm here to tell you that the third part of my Star Wars Old Republic Fighting 101 video is nearly done. This one's taken some serious thought because the topic is pretty complicated. I still have a little more video to capture for it, but I've decided to make you another video on a lighter but no less important topic while you wait for me to finish the next fighting video. In this video, I'm going to talk about Star Wars The Old Republic slang and abbreviations. I realize that some of you have played MMOs in the past, and some of you haven't. So, just like with my other 101 videos, this is going to be done from the perspective of a complete MMO newbie. I'm also going to be covering slang that is specific to the Star Wars Old Republic community. I won't, and frankly, probably can't provide a guide to every possible bit of slang out there in a single video. But I might do a part 2 of this in the future to try to cover some more slang that could prove useful. So let's get this party started. SWG, or Galaxies. This was the Star Wars MMO by Sony, which existed before Star Wars The Old Republic. It was shut down just before Old Republic was released, and many of the old-timers on Old Republic are actually transplants from Galaxies, or at least played Galaxies at some point. I include myself in that number. You might see some elder players moaning on public chat about the good old days of Star Wars Galaxies, and now you know what they're talking about. KOTOR, K-O-T-O-R, stands for Knights of the Old Republic, both number 1 and number 2. These two single-player role-playing games from the 2000s are the spiritual and lore predecessors of Star Wars The Old Republic, and fans of the series generally believe that Star Wars The Old Republic is really KOTOR 3. If you played KOTOR 1 and 2, some plot points in Star Wars The Old Republic will have more meaning for you. If you're curious and you haven't played these games before, you can snag them on Steam or GOG. Play them. You might get some more out of the plot of Star Wars The Old Republic because of it. IC. IC stands for in character. If someone is being IC, it means that they're acting like their character would in a particular situation, and talking to other players as if they were that character, and not themselves Joe Bob the accountant. So, if that Sith jerkface in the cantina gets all up in your business, he may not actually be a jerk, because he's just being IC. On the other hand, he could also be a jerk. I'll leave that for you to figure out. OOC. OOC means out of character, or more simply, you're playing a video game character, but you're not bothering to pretend to be that character or trying to act like that character in conversations and interactions with others. Most people play the game this way, even on roleplay servers. So, speaking of roleplay, RP, or roleplay. This can be used as a verb or a noun. It's a word that indicates that you are acting in an IC or in-character way, or that you would like to do so with some other potentially willing victims. This is partially because it's a lot less awkward to be a Sith jerkface at the cantina if everyone else understands that you're just role-playing and that you aren't actually a jerkface. You might see people asking for roleplay or RP in public chat or when recruiting for various guilds. These are generally people who are looking for other people who are willing to be IC together. Speaking of, another one you will see at some point is ERP. ERP stands for erotic roleplay. And if you can't figure out what this means on your own, you're too young to know, and I will refer you to your parents so that you may ask them exceedingly awkward questions. By the way, don't be that person who asks for ERP on the Public Fleet channel, unless you really like being made fun of. You have been warned. PvE and PvP. Respectively, they mean player versus environment and player versus player. Player versus environment is, simply put, playing against the game world. You might do it solo, you might do it in a group, but as long as you're fighting an enemy that the developers created, you're participating in PvE. PvP is when you play against other players. On PvP servers, you get to worry about the world around you and all the players that aren't in your faction too. Some people like both playstyles and switch between them at will. Others prefer either PvE or PvP exclusively. There's no shame in saying you prefer one over the other, it's all down to taste. Pubs or reps. These are both shorthand terms used for referring to characters that are part of the Republic faction. This might be used in PvP when someone says, "Let's go crush those pubs." Imps. The opposite of pubs, or more simply, an Imperial faction character. It's used in the same manner that pub is used for Republic side. For example, you might tell someone, "I'm switching to my Imp toon," to let them know that you're logging off a pub character to play one of your Imperials. Toon. It's a shortening of the word cartoon, and is used on many MMOs to refer to the blob of in-game pixels that represents you. Some people also use the word avatar to reference their in-game character. Main and alt. A main is generally the character you play the most, whereas an alt is one or more characters you play besides your main. In Star Wars The Old Republic, someone might have two mains, for example, one imp and one pub, and literally dozens of alts on either faction. I personally am clocking in 20 plus alts across multiple servers at this point. Ink or incoming. This is a short way of saying attack incoming. You'll most commonly see this term in PvP, and it's recommended that if you play PvP that you learn to use it when the enemy is coming at an important objective your team has captured. For example, Ink A would probably indicate that attackers are zerging point A. Zerging. Zerging has its roots in StarCraft, and generally means to use large numbers, rather than strategy, to defeat a particular enemy. If you're being zerged in PvP, you're literally being swarmed by enemies. GG, GF, or GJ. These stand for good game, good fight, and good job, respectively. You'll see people use these abbreviations in both congratulatory and sarcastic ways. Hopefully you'll be able to figure out if their congratulations are genuine or not based on context. Sorc, BH, Smug, Scent. These stand for Sorcerer, Bounty Hunter, Smuggler, Sentinel, and are just a little taste of the various abbreviations that I've seen to identify many different classes and advanced classes in Star Wars The Old Republic. Rule of thumb is, if it's too long for someone to want to type it, it will get abbreviated. A gunslinger might be referred to as simply Slinger or Gun, or a mercenary might be called just Merc. There are too many of these and far too many variations to cover succinctly, but just know that if someone says they're playing Amara, that they're probably talking about a Sith Marauder and not some girl named Mara. You should be able to figure out the rest yourself. KDY, TOS, KP. These stand for Kuat Drive Yards, Temple of Sacrifice, Kragas Palace. These, again, are abbreviations, and in this case, these are abbreviations for various flashpoints and operations in-game. I'm not going to list them all here, but once you start doing some of these missions, you'll start figuring out the usual abbreviated forms for them pretty quickly. This is another case of people not typing anything longer than absolutely necessary in any given situation. So, if someone asks you if you want to TFB, they're asking if you want to do Terror from Beyond, and they're not really referring to some strange disease. Mob. A mob is anything that wants to attack you, plain and simple. Tank, DPS, and heals. These are the three major roles someone might play in Star Wars The Old Republic, and they serve to designate what your character is responsible for in a particular group. I have a video plan that will go into more details on this, but this is what you need to know for now. tanks are literally meant to hold the front line, like a tank. DPS stands for damage per second, and refers to any class that can dish out mountain loads of damage fast. Heals are classes that are specialized in healing other characters. In short, in a perfectly structured scenario, a tank keeps the interest of mobs so that DPS can dish out the damage while the healer makes sure that the tank stays alive and healthy while he's getting wailed on by the mobs. Pulls or pulling. A pull is what you do when you purposefully attract the attention of a mob by attacking it or getting close to it. Attacking a mob or getting too close triggers what's called aggro. Aggro is what happens when you provoke a mob into attacking you by getting too close or poking it, probably with a pointy laser thing. You might say to someone, "I aggroed 6 mobs on me and then I died horribly." You can avoid aggroing a mob by staying out of its aggro trigger area, which is roughly a circle, a somewhat variable distance around any particular mob. Faceroll. Faceroll means something that was or is extremely easy. It can be used as a verb or a noun. For example, the new content is a faceroll, or I facerolled that heroic. It basically implies that something was so easy, all you had to do was smash it with your face. And you wouldn't smash something hard, like concrete, with your face, right? Don't answer that question. GTN stands for Galactic Trade Network, or the glowy kiosk thing where you try to pawn off your hard-earned loot onto some sucker for more than it's worth. Or you might be the sucker, and you're spending your credits buying something ridiculous that you really didn't need, but you couldn't live without because it was too stinking awesome. Rancor mount, anybody? BOP, BOL, BOE. These stand for Bind on Pickup, Bind on Legacy, and Bind on Equip. These are all terms to express your ability, or lack thereof, to resell or pass on an item you've gained by either purchase or questing. Bind on Pickup indicates that the item binds to your character as soon as you pick it up. You may not resell this item, and you may not pass it along to another character. The best you can do is just sell that item to a vendor. Bind on Equip means that once you use the item, it is bound to you and you can no longer sell it or pass it along to another character. Until you use it, however, you may sell it or give it to anyone, including one of your own characters. Bind on Legacy means an object that is bound to your in-game legacy. You may not resell this item to another player, but you can pass it on to any character that is a part of your legacy on a particular server. Wow, that got long while I was talking. So let's wrap things up here. If you've heard an interesting, unusual, funny, or unique piece of slang on Star Wars: The Old Republic, feel free to share it in the comments. And thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe.